Playoff hockey without the Maple Leafs just ain't the same.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric show hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. What's happening, pal?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Well, you know what? We got our first little weekend of playoff hockey, and it felt bizarre without having the Maple Leafs there. Like, I don't know if you felt that, like something was missing this weekend from watching all the festivities. Like, don't get me wrong, playoff hockey is awesome. And like, it just elevates to a whole new level. Watching, that Buffalo comeback was unbelievable. Watching the Habs, win it in OT, there were so many great games over the weekend, but can't help but feel like there's something missing there. And that's the Leafs. That's been a staple for a decade in the playoffs, and getting ready to watch that first game, Saturday, Sunday, game one of the playoffs, to see, all right, what Toronto are we going to see? And just not having that. Felt like there was something missing from the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's just like for the first time in a long time, you're just like, oh, like I can watch these playoffs and not have any really like rooting interest. I mean, you can have some rooting interest on teams you want to see do well, but like you're kind of watching it as an outside observer, and you're in some ways envious about some of the things that went down this weekend, certain teams that got to celebrate wins, and certain teams where you're just like, well, you just the Leafs have been in these shoes before, right? So you get to like kind of see the both sides, and you see how people, the talks about officiating, and it's like, yeah, playoffs are here.
They are, and it was a good weekend. Like I was kind of double watching some games last night. Kind of had Mania on one screen, and then on my phone and laptop, I'm watching the Buffalo-Boston game. That thing got great at the end there, and Boston to come back, score 3 unanswered late in the third period. Unbelievable to win that game, and that building went bananas. Absolutely bananas, man. It's so good to see the scenes in Buffalo. They hadn't been to the playoffs in 14 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like, it's been a long time since that organization and that fan base have been able to celebrate. And boy, did they ever get a good one to celebrate last night. So good for Buffalo. And it made me think, like, I felt good for Buffalo. And I don't know if it was because they did it to Boston, or because, I feel like maybe I want to have a rooting interest in the Sabres. Like, is it okay for Leaf fans to root for a team because Toronto's not in it, right? So do you just kind of just watch blankly, or, do you think that it's okay for Toronto to go out there, for Toronto fans, and find a team to kind of cheer on for the next couple of months?
The thing I always say is, like, you can say I want to see this team win, that team win, that sure. I like rooting for a team, like being fully behind a team. I'm not that person.
Yeah,
but like
too bandwagoning for you.
Yeah, I'm not a bandwagon guy. Like, I'm not, and so like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And look, you can get satisfaction for watching the Bruins collapse like they did.
Yeah,
in that game.
Felt eerily similar, but like same but different. Yeah. It was the same but different feeling, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I think when you look also at that series, like, you knew Buffalo, it was either going to go one of two ways. They were going to come out blazing because it was the adrenaline, the emotion of it, or the nerves were going to kick in. And I think that you saw that in that game, right? But the reason why you enjoy that game more is because you know how much the Sabres fans have been waiting for it. You know what it meant for them to be in that position. It kind of reminds me, Tony, again, we talked about it on the podcast last week, right? We talked about 2013.
Yeah.
first playoff game against Boston. Now that was the first playoff game in Boston. It was in Boston, right? So, and that was the first playoff game since 2004. So like, yeah, I also remember the very first playoff game in Toronto in that series. And I believe it was Jake Gardiner that had scored the first goal in the at home, or I can't remember who. I think it was Jake Gardiner that scored the first at home since then. And like I remember that, and just you got that passion that people were waiting for so long, right? We hear all about and look, it's still kind of true to today, but like the aura was different.
Yeah. Well, even 16, 17 when they played Washington, right? Where they weren't expected to take that leap from last place into the playoffs, but they did. That bunch of crazy bunch of kids got the Leafs into the postseason, and obviously it didn't necessarily work out for them. They lost that in 6, but it started, a long tradition of getting to the playoffs. Now, it also started a tradition where they get to the playoffs and then just kind of fall apart. But, at least they were there. And that's something that I truly, truly missed over the weekend was not being able to watch playoff hockey. And it's 2 weeks from now is the Hockey Card Expo. Usually it's like this weekend or like this weekend coming up in the city of Toronto. And, there's been a massive buzz about it. Obviously a buzz about the Maple Leafs. And like last year, I remember, it was in between games 3 and 4, and there was so much going on. The years before, they're playing Boston on like the trade nights. They're showing the games on the projection screen all throughout the building. And, there's just so much buzz and talking about it. And like, Willie had a big 2-goal game, and the next day his card shot up, like an extra $100 on the price tags. And, you always see that. And it's always, how do you think the Leafs are going to do tonight? Oh, what are the Buds going to do? You're kind of jawing at people from Ottawa or, Bostonian fans. And it's always a good time. Not going to be able to do that this year, which is going to be bizarre for the first time in a decade where they're not playing playoff hockey at this time of year. And it's just, there's nothing to talk about. Well, actually, there's a lot to talk about. That's the thing. There is still a lot to talk about. It's just not good. Like, it's all doom and gloom with the Maple Leafs right now. And, there's still some stuff to get into, and we'll get into it on today's show. We're starting to hear some other names get brought up in their front office search. Matt Sundin being one of them. We'll dive into those reports coming up in a moment. A couple other names that are starting to really percolate. But we also got to get more into kind of what we heard from Locker Cleanout, Dave, because we spent most of the time getting David Alter's thoughts on our 2-part interview that came out on Friday. You guys can go back, listen to that to hear from a reporter who was inside the building asking the questions, and was there to give us context. So we let him kind of rip for an hour. We turned it into a 2-part interview. We didn't get to talk a whole lot about it. So I think we're also going to take some time to discuss Auston Matthews and what he had to say at the press conference and our thoughts or takeaways from it. And we've had a few days to kind of stew on it as well. So that'll be coming up on today's show. So plenty of Leafs talk still to go, despite, no games on the horizon. But it's never a dull moment in Leafland. So make sure you're subscribed to the Locked On Leafs podcast, because we're not going anywhere. We're here each and every day, Monday through Friday, all season long throughout the playoffs and into the offseason. We're still talking Buds. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. So make sure that you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. On the other side, we'll get into some more Leafs talk. We'll get into the GM report and what's going on, what's the latest, and how Matt Sundin's name is being tossed into the ring as a potential fit in the Maple Leafs front office. That's next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The NHL playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with the podcast free and available wherever you find your podcasts. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Dave, did you do a playoff bracket?
I didn't do like an official playoff bracket, but I just kind of put my picks down of who I thought.
Who do you got? Who do you got winning the whole thing? Who'd you take as your Stanley Cup pick?
I picked Colorado. I just think Colorado's been, most consistent team all season. Yeah, they've had a few injuries here and there, but I thought, goaltending's good enough. They got Makar, they got McKinnon, like they got all the pieces.
Nate Cash, Kadri.
Yeah, like the Kadri trade is what put them over for me, like to reaffirm what they done. Like they were good all year. Then they brought in Kadri, and it's like, okay, like this team is primed to go back and win again.
I agree. I had them as well. The East, though, is like very wide open, like extremely wide open. And then see Buffalo wins game one. You see Montreal beat Tampa in game one. Dude, Juraj Slafkovsky hat trick. I think they made the right decision with that one. Yeah. Going Slafkovsky instead of Shane Wright. Remember the lasers that Shane Wright was given to Montreal ownership on the draft floor? I think that they're okay with that. They definitely made the right decision going Slav over him. But yeah, the East is wide open for me. Like I think I can make a case for like 5 or 6 different teams coming out of the East and going to the Stanley. Like, would it shock you at all if Montreal made a run to the Cup final? Like, would it honestly shock you if they beat Tampa? Like, they could certainly beat Carolina. They could beat Buffalo. They could beat Philly. They could beat Pittsburgh.
They could,
I mean? Right? Like it wouldn't shock me. And I could say the same thing about Ottawa. I could say the same thing about Buffalo. I could say the same thing about Carolina, about Tampa. There's 5 different teams there. Honestly, I think Philly has an opportunity to go through. Like they're a sleeper dark horse team who got hot at the right time and could go on a run. Like I think
Porter Martone, unreal. Like,
dude, this kid is so good. He is so freaking good, man. It is unbelievable what he was able to do at the end of the season, and then a massive, massive playoff debut. I think outside the Boston Bruins, I honestly think that any team in the East could. Like, it wouldn't shock me to see them in the Cup final. Like, I could see a path. Boston's the only one that I would say, nah, I don't see it. But any other team could do it, in my opinion. It's crazy. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a fun play. Did you see Nick Dowd wanted to murder Logan Cooley? By the way,
that Vegas Utah game. Like I didn't think anyone was going to come out of that game alive. Like they were all like Vegas was hitting everything left, right, and center. Utah then decided we're going to get under their skin because they're clearly like charged up on testosterone and just, kind of out of sorts. And that one, that's a playoff series. Like that one is just like
fun. Yeah.
Utah Vegas, a rivalry there. Like who would have thought? Like,
I mean, they were supposed to be a big time rivalry. Remember Vegas and Arizona? Like that was supposed to be a big rivalry because, close in proximity and, the desert battle with Vegas and Arizona. But like, Arizona took them a while to get going, but like Arizona has arrived in the last couple of years since they went to Utah and now it's 2 competitive teams. And that's going to be a battle, man. I'm excited for it. So, playoff hockey's been great. Again, we do wish Toronto was involved, but I can't wait. But I as well with you took Colorado as kind of my chalky cup pick for this one. But the East, I had a tough time picking those, man. Like I had so like I at one point I was like, this could go 7. This could go 7. I had every single series in the East going 7 games, and I'm like, there's no way we're going to see that. But that's how tight I think these series are going to be in the East. But yeah, Montreal up 1, Buffalo up 1, Carolina up 1. Although Ottawa gave them a good go. How about Freddie Anderson posting a shutout? Oh boy, man, where was that? Where was that in Boston, Fred? Where was that in Boston? Anyway, not to relive old memories, although we are about to relive some old memories as we transition to our discussion about where the Leafs sit in their GM search. And over the weekend, Mats Sundin's name had surfaced as a potential player here. Not too sure what his role would 100% be, whether it's, a president, whether it's an advisory role. We do know that he was in Toronto. I think it was Friday, speaking with the Maple Leafs about a potential role within the organization. What did you make of that report?
Yeah, like that kind of threw me a bit through the loop just because, let's remember here that Mats Sundin had been away from he didn't have the cleanest exits out of Toronto. Yes, they, eventually he got his number retired. He was honored before they retired numbers. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
The relationship was fine, but you can also tell that, Sundin wasn't as involved with things going on with the organization, even as an ambassador, that much. Here and there, he'll come and visit, but this guy was in Sweden, right? That's where he retired to. He didn't stay in Toronto. So that's the surprising part for me, is that all of a sudden now he's looking to get into the fold. I kind of wonder though, is this the Leafs reaching out, or is this one of the people that the Leafs are interviewing being, is
that the creative search firm idea, or what if we bring back Mats to save face with the fan base? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, not only that, somebody brought up the fact that when he was in Vancouver, Mike Gillis made huge pushes to get Mats Sundin.
Yeah.
And some are wondering, is there a connection there?
I mean, look, Mike Gillis is a name right off the get-go. I mentioned as a very strong possibility based on the things that the Leafs want in that GM/president's role, right? He's very, very forward-thinking, when it comes to analytics and AI and all that jazz. Mike Gillis will check all those boxes for the Maple Leafs. And yeah, if Mike Gillis and Mats Sundin clearly have a relationship, he wooed him into Vancouver, which he later, did say publicly that he wish he didn't do, wish he retired as a Maple Leaf and just didn't go back and play that final year in Vancouver. But still, there's a relationship there with those two people. So yeah, if you're bringing in Mats Sundin, is that to be, the front-facing role with Mike Gillis kind of in the background, pulling the big strings? Possibly, that could be the case. So that's
Friedman said it was an advisory role, something along the lines of an advisory
Sundin, kind of like what the Sedins are doing in.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. He's probably look. The Leafs right now, the last couple of weeks has been an absolute hit job on their PR and their reputation.
Yeah.
This type of news would, how many Leafs fans right now are gleaming at they're hearing the name Sundin again being involved with the team? What has that also, it's gotten some people feeling a different way.
Sure, but also at the same time, I guess, to play devil's advocate, what in an advisory role do you think Sundin can really do to put this team in the right direction on the ice? How's that going to impact the on ice product?
I need to hear from him to really know, because honestly, he's done interviews, but it's always been kind of he doesn't get too deep into discussing what the team needs to do, right? Like
Mm.
I know that he has done some analyst roles with like the Olympics and stuff, so like he knows the game. We know
Oh,
that,
no, 100%.
right?
He
So
knows
like
the game, but
I don't know what exactly he brings other than what his past is, like his experience. I
well,
don't know
yeah.
what his philosophies are like,
Are they
in
hoping
terms
he
of-
comes and changes like the culture? Like, is this an opportunity to change the culture? Like, is that what they're hoping Mats can do? Because, like, basically, and I had heard, I think yesterday, Elliot Friedman wrote about Shane Doan might garner some interest around the league as a potential AGM with some other teams and might get plucked away from Toronto if they kind of clean house. And I wonder, it's like, okay, well, Shane Doan was more of like an advisory role.
yeah, he was he was like an advisor to the GM, like he was
Yeah, right. Which
in a way
is
that
that
like
what
Jason
Matt?
Spezzo for Kyle Dubas in Pittsburgh right now.
Well, Spetz is actually an AGM though.
He
Like,
is.
he's actually the assistant
But,
general
like,
manager, and he's hands on and he's
I
scouting.
remember when he retired and joined the Leafs front office.
Well, yeah. So when he was with the Leafs, yes, that first year when he was,
Yeah.
at the prospect tournament. Remember, he was at the Memorial Cup with his notebook, writing
Yeah.
notes. Yeah, like that. That might be like, I don't know if I necessarily see that from Mats. Like, because Spezza wants to be a GM, like that. He's a GM in waiting, and that's why he did all that. I don't necessarily think that's what Mats wants to do.
I don't think so.
He's never shown that he wanted to do that based on the fact that he left the game for a while. But that's why I wonder what exactly his role would be. I guess is because of that. And the only thing I could think of is, if they believe he can come in and try and reestablish the culture that was here when he was a Maple Leaf. Whether that's possible, I don't know. Right? Like we've talked about, we thought that Craig Berube was going to come in and establish some sort of culture, with this team when he came in, and he was going to instill those work habits and ethics with this group. Didn't get through to him. Like Ryan Reeves came over. He was supposed to bring some sort of culture to this team. He was known as a good locker room culture guy. Didn't necessarily work out that well for the Maple Leafs when he was brought. So I don't know if anyone really can come in and change this culture from the outside. Like it's going to have to take some serious buy-in from the guys who are there. And, is Matt Sundin enough to get that buy-in from Auston Matthews, from William Nylander? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out.
There is another name that's being discussed too. I don't know if you saw Darren Drager this morning talking about Gary Roberts.
Gary Roberts could be brought in. I did not see that.
So
like another advisory type role.
Yeah. So he
think of a strength and conditioning coach
for some type of position. Like
okay.
Like we know what Gary Roberts is good for right now. What his he's been doing. Well, here's the thing. He's probably big on not only just fitness, but I know he had done some work around with other teams with like development.
Okay. Yeah,
so I'm wondering if this would potentially be him helping, younger players develop and helping them with their their routines and things like just helping them in their development. I wonder if that could be something Gary Roberts would be involved with.
Okay.
And we know the work. He's got the resume. He's got the, go talk to Steven Stamkos. Go talk to Connor McDavid. Like
100%. 100%. Like he is a great trainer. That's why I said bring him in as a strength and conditioning coach. He's a terrific trainer. Now whether or not he'd be willing to do this exclusively for the Maple Leafs, I'm not sure. Like what that would take, I don't know. Doesn't mean that it has to be that those two things have to happen. Like he has to give up on his training, other players and
I'm sure he's got people that work for him that would take he probably heads it up. I'm sure he's got a team that will look after all that.
Yeah, probably. So, hey, what's old is new again, I guess, for the Maple Leafs, right? Matt Sundin being brought into the equation, potentially Gary Roberts' name now being brought up. At what point do we hear McGillney or
Darcy
Domi,
Tucker.
Darcy Tucker be brought into the fold? Gilmore, are they going to bring Dougie Gilmore into the fold? Like,
They tried that before. I don't know if you remember back in the day. He was a part of the front office before he went to Kingston.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, ask me what I did last week. I don't remember, but I remember the time when at one point
actually did you hear another name? So a couple other names that have been thrown out there. Like I was listening to CJ's show a couple of days ago, and he said Ryan Bonus, who's the AGM with the Islanders, his name has been brought up. Ryan Martin, who's an AGM with the Rangers, his name has been brought up. These are two kind of younger, GM in waiting type of guys, forward thinking, we'll call them. And one other name that also kind of got brought up too. What was the name? I forgot to write this one down. Now
I have the list of names that NHL Rumor Report had written down.
Go ahead.
There's Mike Gillis. These are the names that have been brought up and rumored. Mike Gillis, John Chayka, Chris Pronger, Ryan Hardy, Brandon Pridham, Ryan Bonus, as you said, Gregory Campbell, Ryan Martin, Chuck Fletcher.
Chuck Fletcher. That was it. What is old is new again. That's what Chuck Fletcher.
There's one, but then the next one's going to make you vomit. Peter Chiarelli. Like, why? Why would this guy ever be allowed to work in a front office?
I don't even want him as an AGM. I don't even want him in the building. I really don't want him in the building at all. Like, just keep him far away from the Maple Leafs, please.
No, I just not even gonna just remotely show any interest. And the other one, he's the assistant general manager in Florida, Brett Peterson.
Yeah. So a good list of names, I guess, here that the Maple Leafs are thinking about and have been linked to, and we'll see how it all shakes out. I thought I had seen Frank Cervalli said that there could be something in the works to try and have something named sooner rather than later. I think maybe the Sunny Meta signing made them think like, oh, we should probably jump on this. And also the fact that Vancouver is now looking for a GM maybe as well. So they're, it's
not only a GM, but there could be other moves happening in Vancouver, and you don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to lose out on some of these candidates that you like. So, yeah, it sounds like maybe even as early as later this week.
I'll say this: not just GM candidates. There might be a coach out in Vancouver's organization that the Leafs may want to look at.
Correct. So we'll see where that all goes. Clearly, we'll keep you guys up to date throughout the week on any new news when it comes to what's happening in the Maple Leafs front office search. On the other side, is Matthews going to stick around through all of this? That's a question that a lot of people were talking about over the weekend, Dave. We'll get to that next. You're in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes of the Locked On Leafs podcast, free and available wherever you find a podcast. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube as well for that daily dose of Maple Leafs content. And hey, don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with myself and with Dave and other listeners of the show. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedonleafs.supercast.com to help support the two of us. That would be greatly appreciated. So Dave, we didn't necessarily get a whole lot of time to talk, just the two of us, of what went down and what we heard on Locker Cleanout Day. We had Dave Alter kind of give his thoughts and went a little long with him, so we didn't get a chance to really break it all down. So we'll spend a majority of the week kind of combing over what was said during Locker Cleanout from certain individuals. But I think the clear front page headlines came from Auston Matthews and what he did or didn't say. What did you make of Auston Matthews's presser postseason presser there?
I thought he started pretty strong. I think he started the right way when he said, I take onus on one of the few times I feel like he has said, like, openly come out and said, like, I take ownership of what happened this season. It's on me. So he did that part. Then he says, I want to be a part of the solution, which makes people think, okay, like he's committed to staying in Toronto. But then the R word was brought up. And that's where, he was hesitant to really give any sort of clarity on his commitment, which I can understand both sides of it. One, can Auston Matthews fully commit to being, with the Leafs long term? There's two sides to this. He can say he wants to stay, but the Leafs can be like, well, if our GM decides we're going to do a rebuild, can't rebuild with an Auston Matthews, can't rebuild with a William Nylander. The Leafs could barely tank with with these guys. They couldn't even tank properly because these guys were finally decided to play well try to play well near the end of the year.
They finished 1 point shy from locking in a top 5 pick. 1 point out of 29.
God, I swear, when May 5th comes around and it doesn't go the Leafs' way, I'm just gonna bring that up every time.
Yeah. By the way, we'll be live streaming that show. We'll be live streaming that night, the lottery night, for anyone who wants to watch.
Looking for a little hangout. We'll be doing that. Like for me, I can understand. We don't know what management's plan is because we don't have a management team really in place. But he could have come out and said, this is where I want to be. I'm the captain. I've made my commitment to Toronto. Yeah. Like, he didn't really say that. And look, he can say it, then things can change.
Exactly, Dave. That's exactly how I feel. And I think that's what bugged me. It's like, you could come out and say you want to be part of the solution. Like, there's nothing holding you from saying that. And that probably, that could be true also, that you say that you want to be part of the solution. You want to be part of bringing this team. Like, you're the captain of the Maple Leafs. Like, show that you care about being the captain of the Maple Leafs through thick and thin. But to be asked about your future and say, I can't predict the future. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. It's like, that was your chance to say, I want to be here. I'd like to be here. We'll see what happens when management, when new management comes in. Ultimately, it'll be their decision on what happens with this group. But I still believe in us. I still believe in the team. I still believe in myself. And I think that we can get back to being, that Stanley Cup contender that we've been. This is just a blip, whatever you want to say. Like, he could say that, right? But he didn't. He came out with, a couple, basically sidestepped his questions about his future, and even someone asked him directly, I think it was Rosie DiMano, said, like, would you be open to a 1-year retool? And his answer was, what does that even mean? Like, I don't even know what that is. It's like, okay, well, now you're just being stupid. So
just remember when he had said, Tampa had their times where they, injuries and bad, they had 1 year off and look at where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's still the mindset on a lot of guys on this team. Mm-hmm. The only player, and I know we're jumping a little bit here, but the only player that I thought had a very realistic take on everything going on was John Tavares.
As per usual.
Yeah. Like, I know sometimes he can sound very robotic with the way he talks. Mm-hmm. But I think John Tavares isn't one to BS when the chips are down and he's asked for an honest assessment. Mm-hmm. He will say what he is needed to be said.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think there are players, and this is maybe the culture stuff that we're talking about, understanding the realities of the team situation and not just say, oh, it's just 1 year and we'll be back. There's a lot that will have to change if you want to be back. Like, Tampa didn't just say, oh, we had a bad year, we're going to be back again. No, Tampa always is off for the year, but then changes happen in Tampa. Right? Like, Tampa is not a team that just is, complacent. They make moves. right? If they feel like they need to make a change, they will make a change. They traded Ryan McDonough how many times? Right?
Yeah, they traded McDonough, they traded Sergachev, they let their captain walk. Like they've made some difficult decisions.
Yeah.
Right. Like they've done that.
Killorn, Palat, they got rid of core players because that's how Tampa does it, and they find other players. And yes, Kucherov's still around, Point's still around. Like their top guys are still there, but they're not. They're not afraid to understand when things aren't going right. That if a change needs to happen, they're going to make a change. Even Vegas, for goodness sake. Like the Vegas team that went to the finals the first time was not the same team that won the cup. There was a handful of players from that original Misfits.
Yeah, and there's like 4 players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where the mindset of this organization needs to change, is thinking that the same thing that's been happening since 2016, the same core that's been around for all that time, can't just think that we're going to get it done. No, the core needs to realize that it needs to change and adapt. They got rid of Mitch. Well, Mitch Marner left. I'm not saying they got rid of Mitch Marner because they didn't get rid of Mitch Marner.
They tried to bring him back.
They tried to bring him back. First, they tried to trade him, then they brought him back because that didn't work. So, like that's the part there where I think maybe they're hoping a new proper perspective. But the thing is, and I keep saying this, and we kind of touched on it, is look how many Shanahan hands are still on this team, right? When you look at the organization, look at who's running the organization.
Not just on the ice, but off the ice too, right?
Yeah, there's still so many guys within the front office that are Shanahan disciples. That's what I call them.
Brandon Pridham was a Shanny hire. He wasn't a Dubas hire. He was a Shanny hire. And right now he's literally running the show.
Him and Ryan Hardy are running the show right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not when the new person comes in, maybe this is where a fresh new perspective can come in, because even when Brad Treliving came in, nothing changed when it came to the front office. No. The approach changed slightly, like very slightly, in that
they went after guys with more snot.
Yes, we need a snot, piss and vinegar, and change the way the pie was allocated.
Yeah,
he said all the right things.
Well, that led to what? Ryan Reeves, Max Domi, Tyler Bertuzzi, Brandon Carlo,
right?
Tanev, sure, Tanev and OEL, those have worked out okay, but OEL did.
Tanev to be determined. He seems to think that he'll be good to go. So I do think that when it comes to Auston Matthews, I think whoever is going to take over, whoever is going to come in next, there has to be a proper conversation. There has to be a sit down to say, we can't go back to how things were. If this Leafs team is going to change on the ice, the mindset off and on the ice needs to change. And yes, you still, and look, I also think this is where Craig Berube has to go as well. Like there are people still thinking that Craig Berube is going to stick around, and it's like, if you truly want things to change.
Well, Dave, we're almost a week from the conclusion of the season, and he's still around. He's still here. Don't you find that odd?
It's just they're just going to make it so simple for the new guy to come in, and my hope is that the next GM that comes in doesn't just say, I'm going to need some time to evaluate. So we're going to, they did what almost like Brad Treliving had done.
They're going to.
Yeah, they're likely that's the easy cop-out answer. But the thing is you've already outlined that things needed to change by firing everybody, like firing the GM, not bringing Shanahan back. You had already kind of said that you wanted things to change, but there hasn't been change. Like, if we're being honest here, nothing has changed. Like, Craig Berube should not be back because the team, like your analytics, the thing you're hoping will really give you an advantage, haven't been good.
System and structure, you can point to coaching. right?
Yes.
For systems and structure.
Mindset of how the team, of how the players approach the game too. That's part of its coaching, part of its players, part of its coaching. They work.
And they rank dead last in a number of key defensive metrics, shots against, right? Scoring chances allowed, slot shots allowed. Like they rank dead last in a number of metrics that they shouldn't. They're second last in goals against this season. They dropped off the cliff in team save percentage. It's not because the goalies decided that they weren't going to play well this year. It's because the system fell apart in front of them, which allowed far more high quality chances on these guys. And it's going to be tougher to stop at that point. So they went from the second best 5-on-5 team save percentage down to fifth worst at 5-on-5. So there was a lot of things that went wrong with the team on the ice, off the ice. We're going to see major change one way or another, whether that includes Auston Matthews or not, remains to be seen. Didn't sound like he was willing to stick it out through thick or thin, though. And we know Willie last week was asked about that too, and he essentially was like, well, right now I've been told that we plan on kind of retooling things, but, we'll see what happens in the offseason and have that conversation then. So it sounds like he's not willing to work through a retool or rebuild. But it's going to make next season like imperative that they have success. Because if they have another year like this one where it just doesn't go right at all, like even if it's, you can chalk it up to injury, even if it gets chalked up to injury, again, man, that's going to make an interesting offseason next year as well. And that's when there's no retooling at that point. It's got to blow it up if that happens. But we'll see what everyone else says. We'll see what the new GM has to say when he comes in, gets his fingerprints on it, does an autopsy on everything. There's so much more to kind of get into, and we'll do that throughout the week. We'll play some audio. We'll listen to Berube, who's still around April 20th. Berube still technically the head coach with a contract for the next 2 years with the Maple Leafs. So we'll dive into whether or not he should return and the likelihood of that after what we heard on Friday or Thursday, and so much more to get into. Knives, Tanev, Tavares, they all spoke. Morgan Riley spoke. Nylander had the quickest press postseason end of year locker cleanout interview maybe of all time. Like, you put the stopwatch on that thing, Dave, it was like 83 seconds. It just bang, 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 gone, out of here. Couldn't get out of Dodge any quicker from William Nylander. So all week long we'll be reacting to Maple Leafs locker cleanout, and obviously we'll also be reacting to the latest in what happens in the Leafs GM search as well. And there could be some more news coming out over the course of the week, so make sure you're stay tuned for all the latest news in Leafland. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You could subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at @D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.